as flies to wanton boys, we are for the gods. They kill us for the sport.
You would get to find people who live in poor homes, in homes like Rufai, will get to say worse than the concentration camps. There's no sewage system that leads to houses. And it's not just in Africa, it's in Georgia.
Soon the science will not only be able to slow down the aging of the cells, soon the science will fix the cells to the state. And so we will become eternal.
You find people live in homes where up until now there's no running water.
Only accidents, crimes, wars will still kill us. But unfortunately, crimes and wars will multiply. I love football. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
It's in China. No troubles, brother.
Good luck with everything.
No troubles. You are, I'm Obinna.
I'm Mikael. Mikael.
Okay, Mikael.
Yeah,
like
from
Michael.
Colombia.
You're from Colombia?
Yeah, my
what are you?
father is from
What are you doing? What are you doing? I have a president who came up and said, you know, Emi Lokan, you know, it means it's my turn. And just like in 2014, nobody asked what type of change Buhari was bringing. That's the former president that almost died, just like Yaradua. Nobody asked what type of change he was coming with. He just said change. There were chants of Baba Yara, Say Baba and stuff like that. And those slogans, those political slogans got captured. And then this guy came, you know, Emi Lokan, Emi Lokan, Emi Lokan. And just like in Ruga's song, you know, I'm a Siwaju, always outside, you know, getting to do the whole stuff. It still doesn't make sense that a man who granted no interview, a man who granted the chances he was supposed to use and answer questions to other people, was elected the president of the country. It can only happen in Nigeria. That is one of the downsides of democracy. And so as a people drawn together, they said evil done in a particular place and condone is a threat to justice done everywhere. So we as people should be ready to call out government officials, to call out wrongs when we actually get to see wrongs and where we actually get to see things not done rightly and rightly so too. So I listened to John Obidi talk the other day, and he was talking about how the average African or the average Nigerian thinks about consuming data in megabytes or in gigabytes as opposed to how those in the West get to think about it. In the world today, a whole lot of persons get to shy away from responsibilities on many fronts. Responsibilities that has to do with, you know, personal life, community life, the society, the world at large. In our time and in our era and this epoch we get to find ourselves, we see a whole lot of drive towards individualism. We see a whole lot of drive towards the idea of being alone, the idea of hitting it and making it all on one's own, forgetting the fact that we all are political animals and we all are in the polis. We all belong to a society. We all cannot drive towards anarchy. We all cannot head towards that particular line, and it begins to become a thing of great concern for someone like me when I begin to really spend time thinking about this, as I believe a whole lot of persons also spend time thinking about what has become of our modern time and our modern world as a people. What am I trying to drive at here? The world and its people upon which you and I make up this number should collaborate with one another as to seeing that our world gets to work very, very well. It brings me down to Brazil. Currently, it's having a whole lot of sanctions and problems with Elon Musk, and it begs the question: where are we headed as a people? Where are we headed as a nation? Where are we really headed as a people who claim to ordinarily be free, with free will? A thing I still grapple my head around with. Where do we stand in times of conflict? Where do we stand in times of problems and the likes of that? I am Nigerian, and my government is not trying. My government is not doing 2% of what it ordinarily should be doing. We have a president who came up and said, Emi Lokan, it means it's my turn. And just like in 2014, nobody asked what type of change Buhari was bringing. That's the former president that almost died, just like Yaradua. Nobody asked what type of change he was coming with. He just said change. There were chants of Baba Yara, Say Baba, and stuff like that. And those slogans, those political slogans, got captured. And then this guy came, Emi Lokan, Emi Lokan, Emi Lokan. And just like in Ruga's song, I'm a Siwaju, always outside, getting to do the whole stuff. It still doesn't make sense that a man who granted no interview, a man who granted the chances he was supposed to use and answer questions to other people, was elected the president of the country. It can only happen in Nigeria. That is one of the downsides of democracy. And what would have been a thing for trouble for me was the Edo APC campaign last week, and how it concluded. In that particular rally, you get to see the likes of Adams Oshomole was there, the so-called almighty Godswill Akpabio was there. You get to see Asukwo, the senator from Cross River. You get to see was Dave Omayi there? I can't really figure him amongst those guys there, but you get to see the almighty Baba Jide Sanwo-Olu. He was there, and a whole lot of guys. Was Ganduji there, I think, also. But you see these guys, and my problem was the Mammon crowd that really came out to get to support them. You would think that in a sane society where people should ordinarily be thinking, where people should have righteous anger in them, where people should be as angry as you can think about. Nothing. Why? Because of the whole idea of individualism. People just wanting to do things for themselves. So that if the kidnapping has not gotten to you, then there's no problem. If the killing has not gotten to your family member, then Nigeria is still completely fine, and the likes of that. I keep on giving this analogy of my granddad being amongst those who were supposed to effectively implement the National Health Insurance Scheme. I think I wasn't there. I don't know how effective the implementation was in relation to him serving the government in line with how difficult bureaucracies can be in Nigeria. But what I can say is the fact that doctors up until now are leaving the country. Not to say that doctors didn't take oaths to get to guide the people and all that, but they have to also eat, right? They have to take care of their family. The world is becoming darker and darker and more expensive. So people have this inclination and proclivity to go towards the individual way. And the question that keeps on coming to my head is, what can we do to the great chunk of people in a place like Nigeria, where a large group of people go to church and are told a whole lot of things about the afterlife and about God and about religion, and guys get brainwashed to the extent of the likes of the guy they call Papa J makes the wave and makes noise everywhere and get to say a whole lot of things. We also recently are finding it in the whole I am a chosen saga, and it just makes me laugh on many fronts, because come on guys, like I am a chosen, and then Bullet just do ka. I'm a chosen, and then the machete doesn't get to enter, and this leaves people with this illusion that anything can go. People can give the most gullible reasons in the world as to why they do a whole lot of things. And I was talking with my good friend today, Mary, and then she gets to talk. She brought in a very, very important. She brought in a very, very important perspective as to what drives people to really build this urge to really talk. You know, the idea of my family member or my neighbor has gone to give testimony, my church member has gone to say something, and this begins sharing testimonies in churches around this type of churches might be one of the reasons where people begin to think, oh, I am the one now serving God. Just like in Nigeria, if you have money, it's presumed that the money was gotten from God, and then you're a good person. And then we see people doing all forms of dubious stuff, given awards in Catholic churches and in other churches, in bazaars should be ongoing at the moment in Nigeria. The way it has all been turned into this game where you can play God and then God gets to bless you leaves me also worried. The problem now becomes, in a world that has become so individualistic, in a world that has become so acclimatized towards the idea of do you and let me do me and let everybody stay on their own. What I'm trying to say here is the whole idea of people wanting not to be disturbed. Mind your business, let me mind my business. But I ask myself, if your business is to dress half naked and my business is to rape anybody that is half naked, will you mind your business? So that when you dress half naked and I am to rape anybody half naked, it's a very, very cruel example to use, but I use this example so that we begin to see the whole idea of we being so individualistic cannot really work in a society. Still, again, take a place like Nigeria. We'll come back to Brazil. I'm trying to draw a connecting line here between what Elon Musk is trying to do in Brazil and the whole gangster life the current government is trying to bring over in that country, and the sanctioning of X and other media platform in relation to what's happening back home. And I'll take you back to 2020 in Nigeria, where Twitter was placed on hold by the former CEO for a very, very long period of time in relation to the live streams that were done during the now infamous NSAS protests, which is probably going to see a new face in the forthcoming month tagged Fearless October. I don't know how many persons will come out for that protest, but I would advise as many persons who have understood the idea of the protest to actually participate. Nigerian government would never accept protests peacefully, you know. The police will be used, the military that has no business to do with the day-to-day life of the society would also be there and all that. But the stuff down here is our ability to point out errors when we get to see errors. Because if your neighbor is being arrested today and you say nothing and you do nothing and you keep quiet because it's not yet your turn, I tell you, not too long, it's going to come to you. If they must have finished killing your neighbor, kidnapping your neighbor, defrauding your neighbor, they are going to move to the next person who still lives in the same place and in the same environment, and that person would be you. So in a society, we all have to work together. There have to be this cohesion of people to see that the society gets to work. Everybody cannot be a doctor, everybody cannot be an engineer, everybody cannot be a mason, everybody cannot be a plumber, a road constructor. You check it, you name it, because we need plumbers to fix the toilets and to fix our water systems, and we all cannot do it alone. And the so-called clamor now for everybody to become entrepreneurs, and the way they get to say it and how it, don't work for anybody, and I laugh. Which society can function when nobody wants to work? If everybody becomes CEOs and entrepreneurs, who get to do the work? Entrepreneurs need people to sell products to. Entrepreneurs need a whole lot of things to go down their particular line of action, and they cannot do it all on. You cannot just want to give up the society because you want to chase the bag. In all of this, it's still the fact that I'm saying the CEO needs the cleaner, that's the janitor. If CEO needs the janitor to get to attend to his or her needs, he needs a cook, he needs a security guy, he needs all of these things. And come on, guys, let's be realistic. If we don't come together and stuff like that, it won't work. And so as a people drawn together, they said evil done in a particular place and condone is a threat to justice done everywhere. So we as people should be ready to call out government officials, to call out wrongs when we actually get to see wrongs, and where we actually get to see things not done rightly, and rightly so too. So what am I saying? Take Nigeria for instance. Those in the Niger Delta had suffered a whole lot from oil theft and water pollution and all that, from Shell and a whole lot of other big companies. I know people say, why are you calling Shell? Don't call names. But come on, we all know the damages Shell did in Nigeria and did in a couple of African countries. And even right when the AFCON, the so-called AFCON that saw us have people like Ademola Lookman and saw us have Osimhen shine brightly, and this thing, Ekong, play out all well, and we saw the South African keeper save 4 goals, and we saw was that Nigerian goalkeeper again, Wabali, show his expertise during the AFCON while it was going on. There were so-called pipes being laid across African countries to get crude and to get other minerals out of the continent. And who sponsored the AFCON? I leave that to you. While we're busy jubilating that we are having things of unity and all that, the Bible gets to say, while men slept, the devil sowed weeds among the crops. So while we're jubilating and all happy and all that, these guys were busy carrying out their dangerous stuff and their dangerous acts. So today I will leave Shell out of it. Another day we'll get to talk about Shell. But what I'm trying to say is, there's too much stupidity going on around our world in terms of ideologies, in terms of how we get to view things, that we really need to speak up. Because if it's not you today, I bet you it is going to be you tomorrow. And that is how slavery also and colonialism also was aided in our African countries. Because you get to hear ideas of people back then saying, they were invading so and so community. The white man is there at the moment. We went to the market and we heard that they ransacked the whole city, and because the cities or such villages were our enemies, so it has not gotten to us, so they can go and do whatever they are doing there. If our individual communities have stood by each other during the invasions of these people, I'm not saying they would have ordinarily gotten away with all the superior weapons that were gotten, but I was saying, just like Nelson Mandela would say, a finger can easily be bent, but when the fist is all joined together, it's going to be as difficult almost as impossible to do that. That is why they say it takes a community to raise a child. Look at what we are seeing in our societies now. It's a downfall. Nobody wants to talk in as much as it's not concerning them. So that a place like the Northeast, and the level of insecurity such a place has seen in Nigeria, cannot really be a thing that somebody from the South will really fathom, or somebody from the so-called South. I don't still understand ways Nigeria get to do their coordinations and their cardinal points. What is South to start with? What is Middle Belt and North Central, if not political ways of putting knives amongst the things that hold the people together and then allowing them to fall apart? And it brings me back to the whole idea and the clamor for more states to be created in the country. We don't need more states to be created in Nigeria. We just need people to get to look at each other and say, you are my brother, you are my sister. I've been talking to my friend Mary. I've not met her personally. I know where she's from. And it's all cool by me, because I know I'm seeing a human being and I'm talking to a human being. But most persons don't want to accept that particular fact that we are all humans and we all have blood. I have a very, very rare blood type that if you need blood, I'm not an O, of course. I have a negative to my blood type. But what I'm saying is, we have to come together and begin to see to it that we have to clamor and shout and scream at the top of our voice that a country like Nigeria, once peaceful, a country where people normally were sent to places for peacekeeping, places like Syria alone, places like Liberia. I have uncles who were in the military who went for peacekeeping and all that, but a country all of a sudden that now have about 2 to 3, 4, 5 armies within its place. A country that sees to it that someone like Tompolo is given the creeks to manage. Come on. That country is not bound to make any sense. A country that has somebody like Asari Dokubo initiating people and having a cult around him. A country that has to see people like Shauka rise up and have to see people up the north get to rise in revolt against the government, and nothing is done. But then someone like Sowore is termed a guy who has committed treasonable felony. A guy like David Hundenyi is threatened left and right. Pidom is still in detention, and 10 guys have just been granted bail for what? Because they carried placard and they protested, and then they were being charged for treason. Come on, are we joking? The so-called president himself in 1994 was charged with treason. He never really said the main reason why he left Nigeria to exile. He was charged by the Abacha's government for treason. That's why he left Nigeria. He didn't leave Nigeria because he was leaving Nigeria. He was charged with treason. The same way with like Ken Saro-Wiwa was charged with treason. The same way with like Wole Soyinka was charged with treason. A whole lot of other persons. Ken Saro-Wiwa didn't have a chance to get to escape and all that. It's the same man that currently at the moment is giving directives as to the fact that someone like Sowore should be arrested, and he was kept in the watch list. And I saw what they were trying to do to Sowore there, put him on a watch list, declare that if he ever gets into the country, he's going to be arrested and detained immediately, and then put fear into him so that he doesn't come to us to attend to his court hearing, and thereby say he has failed to appear in court. That was what they were trying to do to the guy, and he was so smart. And I saw him discussing with that Sowore. I saw him in his post discussing with Dr. Damages in the US. That's Rudolph Okonkwo. And Rudolph is a man I get to respect a whole lot, and his takes on political matters also matters a whole lot to me. And I knew for sure that Sowore, the guy I know, is definitely going to come to Nigeria. What happened? He got into the country, he got detained. Twitter, I believe, would have saved the day, because very few persons knew when he landed. They seized his passport. He raised alarm on Twitter, on X, and he was released a few minutes later.
Human rights activist and presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, AAC, in the 2023 election, Omoyele Sowore, has been released minutes after his arrest. It was earlier reported that Sowore was arrested on Sunday morning at Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Ikeja, Lagos State. In his ex-platform post, Sowore wrote, and I quote, "I just arrived in Nigeria from the USA at MMIA in Lagos. Upon reaching Nigerian immigration, my passport was seized, and they told me they had orders to detain me. This is not unexpected, because I've always known that it is part of the broader clampdown. In case this becomes another prolonged and protracted detention, I urge all citizens to ensure they all stop tyranny by all means acceptable and necessary by engaging in the planned series of direct actions slated for October 1 and beyond." End of quote. They arrested you this morning at the Murtala Mohammed Airport. You knew that if you came into the country, you would be arrested. I mean, it was foreseeable. And then you came in. Is that ego on your part? Is that foolhardiness? Well, they've given you back your passport. But why did you have to dare the Nigerian state?
It's a matter of right to not abandon one's citizenship, one's rights, one's fundamental dignity by running away from the government of your own country because they feel like they can violate your right. I have not committed any offense known to law, even though it was brought to my attention and that my name was put on a watch list. First by the CG of Immigration, the lady, and then later there was a document I got from the DSS that my name was placed at the airport on a watch list. But I had decided I was coming to Nigeria anyways because I had a case coming up soon, and that nothing was going to stop me. So I took my bags, packed my bags and got on the plane and arrived this morning to Lagos from the US after almost 14 hours of flying, only to get to the immigration people and they said, they seized my passport first and said, I have been arrested. Of course, I was expecting it. But it wasn't a matter of ego, it was a matter of rights, it was a matter of existence. I'm a Nigerian and I don't think any Nigerian should be afraid or be scared from their home country simply because some people are going haywire in office or in power.
You've been talking about Fearless in October, take back our country. The story is out there that there's a plan to protest against the Tinubu government starting from October 1. Okay, you've talked about a court case. Is that why you are here? To start another, take it back?
I don't have any reason to explain why I come to Nigeria. I don't come to Nigeria on vacation. It's my home country. And as a result, I can come to Nigeria for any reason whatsoever. I can come to Nigeria even if I don't have any reason to visit. It's my country. This is where I was born, raised. And after spending some 25 years in the US, I never abandoned the citizenship of Nigeria. So I don't owe anybody any explanation as to why I can come to Nigeria or the reason I can. So I can come to Nigeria for any reason. So I'm just explaining to you that whether I'm engaging in the protest, which is my right, or I'm coming for a court case, or I want to visit my mom, or I want to come here to come and drink water from a lake in my village, it's my right.
Okay,
I don't owe the government any duty to be afraid to come home simply because they put my name.
It's okay.
On the
But tell us about this Fearless in October revolt that has been planned.
Well, it's been part of a series of protests that has been organized by Nigerians, and we started on August 1st, as you are aware. That was end bad governance. This is supposed to be a continuation because of 15 demands that the government did not even attend to. Instead of that, the federal government arrested and detained a lot of people, minors, and charged them with bogus offenses, very egregious offenses of treason for carrying placards. So this is going to be a continuation of it. But and the mobilization for it, the conversation and the conscientization and education for it has been on ever since the end of the August revolt, which was an end bad governance revolt. So everybody's aware. The government was aware of this, and everybody should be preparing for it because it's a matter of right that Nigerians have a duty to just not allow this government to obliterate them with hunger, starvation, and incompetence.
But Sowore, are you aware that under this Tinubu administration,
Yes.
where you carry placard is treason? You are toying with treason. About 10 people who have been arrested, they were charged for treason. They were remanded in Kuje prison. They've been granted bail to the tune of 10 million naira. So what kind of spirit will bring you back to say you want to commit treason, knowing that they will come after you and they will put you in Kuje prison, where they seem to have enough space to house people like you?
It is treason to arrest, detain, and falsely charge citizens of crimes that they have not committed. And it's not the first time I was accused of treason. In fact, I heard about the offense of treason in 1992 at the University of Lagos when we went and did Babangida Must Go. And the police arrested us at Western Avenue Police Station, asked us to start writing statements under duress and said, I want to overthrow the government. That was the period that Olusegun Mayegun, who was president of NANS at that time, I think Femi Falana, Baba Omojola, and the rest of them were charged for treason. And the magistrate court did grant them bail. I was charged for treason in 2019 by Buhari, so I'm not new to treason, these bogus offenses of treason, but that is not our focus. Our focus is that we have a country to liberate and a people to save. So whatever offenses are thrown our way, it should not discourage us. It's up to the people to determine what constitutes the offense of treason. And in this situation, it is the Tinubu regime that is committing treason. And I must say to you also that in 1994, Tinubu was accused of treason. If you remember, when he was accused of bombing Ejigbo depot by Abacha. So that was why he left Nigeria on exile. But in our own case, we are not going to go on exile simply because the government is afraid of placards.
Well, you were presidential candidate in 2023 on the platform of the African Action Congress. President Tinubu has now said, look, there's a government to run. politics is over. All the things that Nigerians are experiencing, these things are inevitable. Hard choices have to be made. And the Nigerians should be ready to make sacrifices. But, some of you are still acting as if the election is still on.
Well,
so why?
We're not running an election. They never even had an election in the first place. But that's a conversation for another day. What we're saying is that the issue on ground is existential. And everybody's talking. Even the other day, I saw some elders, including the former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, who went to Tinubu and said we should bring about a new constitution, which is one of our demands, by the way. We talked about minimum wage. We talked about wastage in government. So you're asking people to tighten their belts, that they should just tarry a little. But you are there buying yourself a private jet of $150 million. You are renovating homes of your VP for $21 billion. Everybody in the Senate and everybody in the National Assembly got an SUV that cost $150,000 each. I mean, are Nigerians foolish not to understand that this is just a ruse? And that is why I coined the word, I think yesterday, that the government is no longer practicing democracy but orisacracy, which is government of rice, ruse and rice. Any problem in Nigeria, give them rice. Flood in Maiduguri, send them rice. Education problem, send them rice. People are sick, send them rice. So that is where we are. And the government has become a joke. And that brings us back to the conversation about treason. You're a lawyer. I don't need to remind you of that. And I'm sure that if you were sitting in court representing an accused person, and a person that's accused of treason for carrying placards, you must look at the prosecutor and to wonder whether he went to law school.
Well, I know that lawyers are part of the problem.
Same thing that happened to David Hundenyi when he was in one of the African countries. Was it last year? I think it was Kenya or something like that. He raised alarm. Some person say it was false alarm. It wasn't false alarm. These guys know what they are doing. Dictators don't want the people to talk. Dictators want to intimidate the people. They want to make the people feel very, very afraid and all that. And it's the same thing we are seeing in the protest. What happens in the protest? Let the protest come out. Get your hoodlums to get into the protest. Make it look as if it's not peaceful. Send the military, send the police down there, brutalize people and shoot the few you are going to shoot, because nobody cares about what happens back home. And we have to begin to listen and accept this particular reality. The so-called West you are looking up to for solutions, if Africa gets it right, they are going to be out of business, and you think they are definitely going to come to your rescue. Come on, guys, wake up. Wake up. They're not going to come to your help. They are collaborating and making deals with your government. The embassies in Nigeria, you think they are just there to granting you visas so you could travel to their countries. My brother, wake up. My sister, wake up. Man, they are there to do diplomatic engagement, and it has nothing to do with cosmopolitanism. It has a whole lot to do with the interests of their people. Do you know what it means to rent buildings, to get security to guard the buildings, to feed diplomats and do all that just because they like you and they want to stamp your visa so you could go study and you could go do businesses in their country? Nobody is saying this is not part of the reason. It's part of the reasons because they also need students in their country, and who doesn't like African money? These guys, see, currently in the UK, they have given a particular amount of money. I think it's £23,000 in your account before coming. And someone said somewhere Nigerians are going to go there because there's money in Nigeria, there's money, and then guys are going to still go to those. You like make it 50,000 euros. See, people have money in Nigeria. If people can be willing to register their children in a secondary school in Lagos, what 42 million naira per semester academic year, people can send their children abroad. So they are there for a whole lot of reasons, but don't just think they are out there because they want to bring stability to the country. If that's the case, Sudan shouldn't be fighting up until now. Khartoum was invaded since last year. There's still unrest in Sudan. Ethiopia has been fighting for only God knows how long. Congo has been experiencing a genocide for as long as possible. Tell me, The so-called iPhones you are clamoring for, the so-called laptops you want, where do they get the large majority of lithium they get to produce these batteries? Tell me. If you know the answer, I want to know. And you think they will want to bring about stability, and they want to bring about a whole lot of things. It reminds me of the speech given at one of these, is it this UEFA, by one of the guys, this UEFA, was it, I've forgotten his name now, but it's a speech that talked about war.
As flies to wanton boys, we are for the gods. They kill us for the sport. Soon the science will not only be able to slow down the aging of the cells, soon the science will fix the cells to the state. And so we will become eternal. Only accidents, crimes, wars will still kill us. But unfortunately, crimes and wars will multiply. I love football. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
And it says, science is going to make life livable, so that only things like crimes and wars and probably terrible accidents that people would get to die. And he went further to say, we will now live for as long as we want to, but things like wars, things like crimes, things like killing of people would never stop, because that would be the next form of business. And my brothers and sisters, for how long have we had guys from United Nations come to observe our elections, and how long has it fared? They will release all those their bogus reports. The election was not free, the election was not fair, the election was not this, the election was not that. After that, what happens? They send congratulatory message to the candidates that so-called won the elections. What did you see last year? It's the same thing. What did you see? It's the same thing that will play out. Museveni would still not want to allow any younger person come to become president in Uganda, in as much as he's still alive. The so-called Ruto, who came up on the wings of austerity and claiming, like Goodluck Jonathan, that he had no shoes to wear, is still the same guy that would want to do a whole lot of other things. So until we begin to realize that we have to speak up and we say our minds, constructing our arguments well, I tell you, we are heading nowhere. Same as Brazil is going, North Korea has also had sanctions against X, China, you name it, all these countries where heinous crimes are being committed, try to clamp down on free speech. And until we begin to get these things right, until we begin to look at the fact that someone like Elon Musk have done so much more for the world as an individual, as opposed to a whole lot of persons. When the astronauts were held in space, and then Boeing said it's going to take up in 2025 for a rescue team to come. What did Elon Musk say? He said, I want to help. When there were issues about free speech, he bought Twitter, X now. It's not as though he's making a hell lot of money out of there, but he's doing a whole lot of things. Look at Starlinks. Do you know how many African countries get to use Starlinks? Places where networks cannot go. Because I still don't understand why a place like Nigeria is still counting in data. I listened to John Obidi talk the other day, and he was talking about how the average African or the average Nigerian thinks about consuming data in megabytes or in gigabytes, as opposed to how those in the West get to think about it. There's a wireless connection in my house. At the moment, I have about 300 gig, which I don't get to exhaust in a month. I use about if I get to use about almost 250 and stuff like that. But then nobody is talking. People are just saying, he's just a fucked up guy. He's trying to think himself God. you don't expect someone that thinks like an Elon Musk to ordinarily listen to a whole lot of persons. He doesn't have that time. He's that powerful. I'm not saying I like all his ideas and I like all the stuff he's doing, but all I'm saying is, let's come up together and tell ourselves that there are injustices going on around the world, and until we begin to speak to the crux of these matters, nothing is going to happen. There are still children in the north in Nigeria who still don't go to school, and they are potential threats to both themselves and to society. There are going to be collateral damages because they are going to be pushed down on the streets as margeries. And do you want to tell me to keep quiet in the face of stuff like that? You want me to keep quiet in the face of such adversity and such blatant threat to the growth of the country? No, it's not something anybody should think about. The southeast is currently under siege. The southeast is not safe either. You know, there's a whole lot of issues of insecurity down that particular road, and fewer persons are speaking up because of the dangers associated with actually trying to speak up and trying to say what one really thinks about the southeast. And it's a concern on many fronts. Why is it a concern? Because the government didn't really pay the much needed attention it's ordinarily supposed to pay to people from that particular zone, people born out of agitations, people born out of all the sorrows they have seen within the short period of time they have come to coexist in what has come to be Nigeria. And so if the government had paid the much needed attention the Southeast needed, it shouldn't be a problem at the moment that particular place, once peaceful, once industrious, once progressive, once very, very calm and quiet, has turned into what it has turned into. That is what we must look at. That is what we must pay attention to. And as the North continue to grow in insecurity, we should also know that the insurgencies going on in the North is both political and as well as sponsored. It's not born out of a complete resistance. It's born out of a whole lot of things outside agitations for just autonomy and the likes of that. There's a whole lot of mineral resources up north, and insurgency have seen to it that such has not made it to the national coffers of the country. So private individuals are mining. There are lots of illegal mining going down there, and there's a whole lot of unchecked and unbalanced sheets financially, and we have to like really come to terms with these realities. And the East also have to be given the much needed attention it has to be given. You know, whether you want to accept the creation of the 12 states as just genuine stuff done by General Gowon in 1967, or you want to look at it as trying to enclose the Southeast within themselves so that to break away their power from River State and from Cross River State, is a thing I get to leave you with. So that up until now, the carving out of the likes of River State out of the East, as well as Cross River, the creation of Cross River State, has seen to a whole lot of problems. So that someone like Wike comes out to say he's not an Igbo man, whatever that means to him, that is fine. And you get to see a whole lot of persons also get to talk about this. Is it those in Anioma and those around such places? We should come to accept the fact that knives have been introduced into the centers and the things that hold us together, and our centers can no longer hold because we are falling apart, and we are falling apart greatly, and we'll be made to see our differences rather than our commonality, be it on a tribal level, be it on a race level, be it on class level. We have been made to see ourselves more different than how similar we are. We are more similar than we want to accept. We are more we are more together in our sufferings and in our problems and our situations that we want to accept. We go through the same problems. We have government officials trying to clamp down on our freedom. We have government officials stealing on us. We have a government and a system that don't really want to give us and present us with real-time data. And come on, the list is endless. And we cannot help ourselves if we continue to remain silent. I keep on hitting on this and I keep on saying this, and I've come to realize this as a human being, that for we to progress as a people, we have to come together. We have to grow together. We have to live together as a people. We have to function together. We have to be together. We have to accept one another. We have to speak to the injustice in China as well as we speak to the injustice in Africa. We have to speak to the injustice in North Korea as we want to speak to the injustice in the UK. We have to speak to the injustice in the Middle East as well as we want to speak to the injustice in America. We have to speak out. If not, this thing grows, this thing continues to grow, and it leaves nobody happy. It leaves nobody in peace. It leaves nobody safer than the other person. Years back, it used to be we hearing about Boko Haram, and it was though that was the only problem at that particular point disturbing Nigeria. Nobody is saying that was a very, very little stop. People spoke out. But then we've come to see Benue State collapse. We've come to see Benue State go down. We've come to see people lose their lands. We've come to see people get to die. It doesn't make sense. We must come to terms with the fact that we live in very, very unsafe times as Nigerians, and by extension, people in the world. We live in very, very unsafe times. Wars are not going to stop anytime soon. Rather, they are just being expanded. They are just being given the necessary avenues to get to thrive, because people benefit off wars, from charity organizations, to say the least, to those who get to produce arms and those who get to fund production of these arms, and banks that get to loan all these, and companies and countries that get to sell arms. To stop war, stop the sale of arms, to stop war, and to stop things like charity organizations, and stop insurgencies, stop things that are not natural causes of disasters, where all these organizations can freely function, and then you get a peaceful society. But until you do that, we are all going to be in this together. We'll continue to have children up the north who are disenfranchised of a right like education, properly being educated in a climate and in a society that allows them to get to function well. You will see that more children will be multi-dimensionally poor as adults in the long run, because the system will not really get to work for them. And sorry. No troubles. No troubles. You would get to find people who live in poor homes, in homes like Rufai, will get to say worse than the concentration camps. You find people live in homes where up until now there's no running water. There's no sewage system that leads to houses. And it's not just in Africa. It's in Georgia. It's in China. No troubles, brother.
Good luck with everything.
No troubles. You are, I'm Obinna.
I'm Mikael. Mikael.
Okay, Mikael.
Yeah,
like
from
Michael.
Colombia.
You're from Colombia?
Yeah, my
what are
father
you?
is from
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm working, bro.
You working here?
Yeah.
You study here too?
Like now I study in my country, and now I working here.
Where do you work?
For, in restaurant, cooker.
Oh, you're cooking?
Yeah.
Oh, no troubles, no troubles.
Yeah, bro.
I'm
Okay,
studying.
I go with
No troubles.
with friend. Okay?
See you.
Good luck with everything.
No troubles, brother. We must come to terms with the fact that our world is changing. And we must come together to see to it that we help. we must come to terms with the fact that the world is complicated enough, and not just the simple thing we've been told as children. We must come to accept the complexity of our own existence down here and how we get to live and how we get to do things as humans. We must come to understand the complexity of human minds across globes and across different epochs and how they get to see things. We must come to terms with the fact that the world is even going to get much more complex in the long run if we don't do the things we ordinarily were meant to do and are supposed to do. So like Brazil, like China, like North Korea, like the US, like as many places trying to clamp down on through dispensation of knowledge, through dispensation of issues that really bother their people and bother the society. We had a crossroads of a very, very dangerous period in history where a whole lot of persons would furthermore be marginalized. We're at the crossroads of civilization, and we are crossing, and artificial intelligence is going to make a whole lot of decisions on our behalf. It's already having a machine mind, whatever that mind may mean, whatever that mind might mean to any of us, and it is left for us to grow. It is left for us to come together and tell ourselves that as it disturbs the man in Kanu, so also does it disturb the man in Khartoum. As it disturbs the man in New Jersey, so also does it disturb the man in Peckham. As it disturbs someone in TBDC, so also does it disturb someone in Warsaw. As it disturbs someone in Colombia, so also does it disturb someone in Puerto Rico. We must come together to see to it that we fight for a just and a free world. Sitting down and just taking to the whole idea of individualism might not help. And it is on that note we started. How individualistic have we become? How individualistic are we, and how are we going down the road, and what can be done better that we are not doing better, that we should do better? It is to this we must answer. It is to this we really must look at. If we must make ends meet, and if we must make ourselves and our lives better. I, a Nigerian, you, a European, you, an Asian, you listening to me, I sitting down here talking. We must listen to ourselves, and we must come together to strive for peace, world peace. Because people continue to suffer and people continue to go down because you and I have refused to talk. Because you and I are becoming individualistic more than necessary. Because you and I have refused to be the champions we ordinarily were supposed to be. Because you and I have been made to see our fears and to see how things can go better for us if we don't talk and if we keep quiet, and that is what we have been doing. But then, because it's not your brother, because it's not your sister yet, you think it really doesn't matter until it happens to you and until life happens to you. Just like Nigeria continues to happen to a whole lot of persons. I am Biringkpa. See you next time.